many of whom are children. And that is something I've not seen in any recent conflict. And that's what makes it uniquely horrific to people.
I agree that it makes it uniquely horrific to people. I think it's really important to have a good understanding of why international humanitarian law, or more specifically, international law of armed conflict exists. I think that people have a really poor understanding that the law of armed conflict exists to make it so that the fight is even on both sides. But that's not true. It exists for two very important reasons. One is to protect civilians, and the second is to ensure that nations have a right to defend themselves. If either one of these fail, nobody would care about the law of armed conflict. I think the difficulty that Israel has right now in conducting their war against Hamas is that their cause for war, wanting to do something about Hamas, I think is undeniably righteous. That if you've got an organization that comes in, they kill, some 1,100, 1,200 citizens, and then they, capture hostage 200 more. Not only has Hamas not had a good cause for war, not only have they committed multiple war crimes in the actual commission of the October 7th attack, it gives Israel a justification to attack. Now, Israel's conduct in war is a second question. It's a very difficult question to answer. When people try to evaluate if the conduct is good or bad, they oftentimes just look at the number of civilian deaths. But when you're actually evaluating from a legal perspective on whether or not attacks are good or not, the obligation for the belligerent, for the attacking party, is just to try to do what they can to reduce civilian casualties. Now, civilian casualties are tragic. They absolutely are. But Hamas also has a responsibility as the sole administrator in the region to shield their population, not use them as human shields, to make sure their population is allowed to flee, not tell them to stay in their homes when Israel roof knocks, when they make phone calls, when they drop leaflets, when they give advance notice, when they give whole region-wide text messages, right? Israel's doing what they can, more than any other country has in any type of armed conflict, to try to warn the civilian population to flee. But for a variety of reasons, they're not doing it. Some due to Hamas, some maybe due to their fears of getting attacked anyway, because obviously there have been tons of places that have come under attack, even places in the south. But I just think it's important to note that when we're criticizing Israel, it can't be on the absolute number of deaths. It has to be on things like when the 3 hostages came out and they were shot by the IDF. Those are things where you're like, well, hold on. These guys were wearing white flags. Why are you shooting at these people? That's not good. It can't just be on the absolute number of casualties, because if that's the fixation, then in the future, no nation is going to consider any laws of armed conflict when going to war, because they're going to say, oh, well, they don't care what the ratios are. They don't care our targeting decisions. They're just upset that civilians are dying, which unfortunately and tragically always happens in the course of war.